What's going on, guys? It's your boy Emmer back with another supplement review, and today I've got a very interesting pre-workout for the channel. This is something, the formula is really something different. A couple things really stand out about this one. Makes it unique from anything else in the market. This pre-workout just got reformulated. The new version just dropped, but hey, I'm reviewing the old one. I'll take a peek at the new one. We'll talk about what the differences might be, and then we'll talk about if this is worth your hard-earned cash. So without further ado, I gotta lift, you gotta lift. Let's get down to business, because today we're talking about Pro supplements, 9-volt. All right, so 9-volt pre-workout. What is this one all about? Well, like I said, this one is quite a different formula. And you know what? Let's just dive right into the label, talk about these ingredients, and then talk about the experience. So we got one scoop coming in at 15.7 grams, 30 full servings per container. Rarely see that anymore in the pre-workout world. A lot of them 25, 20 servings per container. Heck, I have one or two pre-workouts that are 15 servings per container. But we have... First off, coming in with L-citrulline at 6 grams. That's going to be for vasodilation, nitric oxide production at your pumps. We have L-tyrosine at 3 grams, which is a precursor to dopamine, to norepinephrine, kind of foundational, building block, nootropic. Then we have RhodioPrime, 6X Rhodiola extract. So that is a trademarked version of Rhodiola, and it's 6% salidrosides. Salidrosides are that part of the Rhodiola that's going to give you... great anti-fatigue, a little bit of like an energy, adaptogenic endurance benefit. I really love Rhodiola when it's the proper salidroside content, and this does it. 500 milligrams. That is a huge whopping dose. That means you are going to get 30 milligrams of active salidrosides. Then we move on to peak ATP at 400 milligrams. So peak ATP is adenosine triphosphate, which is basically just ready to use energy for your muscles. So it's literally fuel to be used for muscular contractions, for exercise, for whatever you are doing. We have caffeine anhydrous at 200 milligrams. We have Infinergy dicaffeine malate at 100 milligrams, which is going to be 75 milligrams after the yield. That's going to be a longer lasting caffeine. And then we have Zoom XR, extended release caffeine. So I should have looked into this before I did the review, but these are both longer forms of caffeine, and I'm not sure what the difference is. I always thought they were kind of interchangeable, but obviously seeing it on the label here, there's got to be some differences. But the dicaffeine malate is going to be a longer lasting, and then the extended release, I'm not sure exactly what the difference is, but those are going to help extend the caffeine experience, and it's going to obviously make it a little bit smoother and help to mitigate a crash. And I'm also not 100% sure if both of those are a 75% yield. So if that is so, we are looking at, 350 milligrams of caffeine for this product. Then we have methylliberine as dynamine, trademarked 100 milligrams. And so I've tried to look this one up too. Dynamine is an interesting ingredient because a lot of times products will be like dynamine at 40%, or it'll be like methyllibrium 40% as dynamine, or dynamine. It gets labeled different all the time, but I'm pretty sure this is 100 milligrams of active dynamine, which a lot of the times would be on a label as 250 milligrams. At 40%. So dynamine is a much faster acting stimulant than caffeine. It's not as aggressive. It's not as euphoric. Not that caffeine is really euphoric, but caffeine does have generally more mood boosting properties, whereas dynamine is kind of just more like a quick energy spike, but it does synergize well with caffeine. Then we have estrogen at 50 milligrams to help with absorption. So, what does this come together like in the real world? Well, cherry limeade flavor tasted darn freaking good. Very tasty product, tasted good, no complaints there. Let's talk about the experience here. So, this is a very simple, straightforward product. It's supposed to have a bit of cognitive enhancement, not realistically I wouldn't call this a nootropic pre, because tyrosine on its own is not going to really provide a nootropic experience. However, it's kind of providing like brain fuel, and then you got multiple forms of caffeine, the dynamine for the quick energy, and then the rhodiola, which I love rhodiola. This product I would not call a high energy experience. It's a very sufficient energy experience. So they call it 9-volt. Very interesting, because I would say when you take this pre-workout, it feels like your battery is fully charged. So what does a high stim pre-workout feel like? It feels like you kind of have this exogenous source of energy, right? Like we say you're stimmed up, you feel stimulated, you feel this like abnormal energy that you've put into your system. When you take this, you don't really feel like you took a pre-workout per se. You feel like you are just super sufficiently rested. You feel like you're completely awake, like you got perfect sleep, you're perfectly hydrated, fueled, and ready to go. The ATP, the rhodiola, rhodiola really is like characterized that way as kind of like a lot of people will call it a nap in a pill. So it's completely like anti-fatigue and like very sufficient energy, but like you don't feel that, it's hard to explain. Like you don't feel like an energy kick, you just feel like you have energy, if that makes sense. So it doesn't feel like you have some external source of energy. It just feels like you get to the gym and you just feel like your batteries are completely charged, ready to train. Obviously, there's nothing exorbitant for pumps in here. It's straightforward citrulline that'll get the job done. You'll notice there's no beta-alanine in here. So if you're not a fan of beta-alanine, this could be a pre-workout to look for. Every once in a while, I get that question. What are some pre-workouts without beta-alanine? I have to freaking scratch my head because I only know like 2 or 3. But obviously, this falls into that list. And then the energy is super consistent throughout the workout. Obviously, when you don't ramp up and ramp down super hard, that's kind of what to expect. The energy experience, like you don't feel like an exogenous like energy rush, but at the same time, as you train and train and train, you feel like your energy is not getting depleted the same way it would. So because you have those multiple forms of the longer lasting caffeine, it's kind of like sitting there in the background, keeping things consistent. Obviously, Rhodiola is fighting fatigue. It's providing endurance benefits. I never say I would notice that much from peak ATP. Like personally, I wouldn't be like, oh man, I get extra reps when I take peak ATP. But in theory, that's what it is there for quick energy as far as actual performance in the gym. I will say, this is one that you're just going to perform clean on. You're going to perform, it's a super no drama pre-workout experience where you have clean energy to get the job done. No bells, no whistles, no extra frills, but kind of, I think that's where they're like, this is kind of like, like a lot of like serious bodybuilders these days don't like to take like high stims, they'll be, oh, I take a stim product and a half serve. This would kind of be like the high stim bodybuilders pre-workout, where it's like, it's not high stim, it's no crazy stimulants, it's no extra stress on the system, there's no alpha yo, there's nothing exotic, it's more like a very healthy stimulant profile that'll give you like a very clean energy experience. That's the best way I could describe it. So would I be like super anxious to reach for this one all the time? No, because I'm a freaking high stim nut job. But that being said, even for someone who's super high stim like me, it was like I said, I did feel like fully charged and ready to go. I like the feeling of feeling all freaking amped up on stimulants. But if you want something a little bit cleaner feeling, this is one to look for. And then I will also say if like maybe you want that as like an alternate day pre-workout. Like obviously, I wouldn't use this for a day where I specifically wanted to be super charged up. I used it for legs today because legs is that day where I don't, like, a lot of people say they use their strongest pre-workout on leg day. I don't want to be all like freaking hopped up on leg day. I want just a clean performing, like I want my energy there, but like I don't want my heart rate out of control. I want, like, I'm so concerned with performance for leg day, because if I use something that gets me too hopped up, I fail because I get out of breath. Like, you know, I will say this too. So a lot of times when I'm deep into sets, like my sets today for like my big heavy hip press, one of my back off sets I think got up to like 18 or 20 reps, but it's still really heavy. Like, I'm not like, it's not a pump set, it's still a very heavy set. So a lot of times I keep constant tension. You guys see my training clips at the beginning of the videos. I really control the speed of the reps, so they're long reps. So, you know, 20 rep set probably takes me freaking 3 minutes. So that being said, I never stop on a set of legs. I never stop and like take extra breaths at the top. You know, a lot of people do that. They'll hit 5 reps and then I keep that weight moving. So a lot of times what ends up happening is I'll be breathing in and out. But as I get like past like rep 9, a lot of times I end up taking a second breath during the rep. So I'll go in and then out and then in and then out and then in. So that way because I'm starting to feel like oxygen debt and I need to, but I keep the weight moving. I never stop to take an extra breath at the top. So I'll just change my breathing pattern to compensate and keep the weight moving at the same cadence. And I will say on this one today, even at my 20 rep set, I was able to keep that cadence the whole time. So maybe there is something, obviously I'm a huge fan of the sides and the Rhodiola. I think that always enhances the leg day experience, and then just kind of the clean overall energy stimulant complex, and then maybe the peak ATP could potentially have something to do there. I'm just not trying to say that that's like a super game changer ingredient. So overall, a good pre-workout, a solid pre-workout, and something completely different. You know, if you are going to use Dynamine, I do want to see at least that 100 milligram active dose. Like if you put in Dynamine at 100 milligrams, but it's the 40%, you know, you're only getting 40 milligrams of Dynamine, I think that's going to do diddly freaking squat. Like, hold on, like this Total War Black Ops. I really like this pre-workout, but it lists Dynamine standardized to 40% methylibrin. So, and then it's 150 milligrams. So, you know, what is that? Freaking 60 milligrams of active Dynamine. I want the full 100. Like, Dynamine is not a super strong stimulant, so if you're going to put it in there, give me the full freaking active dosage. Now, let's talk about how they upgraded this pre-workout. So this one, like realistically, you'll probably be able to find this a couple places, but it's probably just about done because they just released version 2. And if I recall off the top of my head, 2 things changed about version 2. First of all, they upped the citrulline to 10 full grams. Big upgrade there. Not game changer upgrade, but a solid upgrade. And then I think the only other change they made was they swapped the RhodioPrime for Salidro Pure. Now here's what I will say. Technically, when you have a 6% salidroside, 500 milligrams, that will yield 30 milligrams of active salidrosides. And then Salidro Pure is just active salidroside. And in their new product, they have 20 milligrams of Salidro Pure. So technically, this one has a higher salidroside content. That being said, I'm still not 100% sure. I have Salidro Pure as a single ingredient. I have used it, but I'm still not 100% sure if you take just the extracted salidrosides, if they'll behave differently than when they were included in the full rhodiola extract. Obviously, the active content of those is going to be what you're looking for, but when you isolate them, I don't know if that would make them stronger or not. Like, I don't know if that would be because, you know, essentially it's taking the active ingredient and isolating it, so maybe that 20 milligrams isolated will perform better than 30 milligrams because it's within a 500 milligram ingredient, if that makes sense. Or there's a potential that the 500 milligram total with the 30 milligram actives performs better, not only because it's technically a higher salidroside content, but also because maybe that total ingredient has benefits beyond just the salidroside content. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure on that one, and I'm kind of splitting hairs here, but that's what the new product looks like. I'm a huge fan of Salidropure. I think it's an awesome ingredient, and so I would really like to try the new version of the pre-workout. But that's kind of all I got on this one. So if you want to get your hands on any of the Leica Pro supplements, you can go to NutriCartel.com with code HAMMER, of course. I've used their Fat Burner, Anytime Burn, really like that one. I also have used their pump product, Citra Pump, and this was a really awesome pump product that I reach for all the time. Not only is it a great pump product, but it has a nice dose of active, which I'm a huge fan of. But I don't believe NutriCartel yet has the newest version of this, but I'm sure it's right around the corner as it just got released. So that's kind of what I got. If you've used this one, I'd be really, really curious to hear your thoughts, because I've never heard anyone talk about this pre-workout, and I'd like to hear some feedback. So if you found the video helpful, please click like, click subscribe, click all the buttons, do all things. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Alex Hammerstone. If you want me for coaching, that email is in the description below. I appreciate you guys watching. I will catch you on the next supplement review.